And we're live. It's a new computer. You got to forgive me on this.
No worries. I'm waiting for the sound.
Hang on. This has been my entire week. You got to bear with me on that.
Now we're really live. Welcome to Momentous Live, episode 17, where we'll be talking about Windows 11, beating the heat, streaming blockbuster movies, or not, and lots more. This week, I am Tristan Jutra, unlike other weeks, I guess. And to my left, the guy in the red is...
I'm Gray Williams.
The guy in the green is...
William Silver.
And the guy in the blue, returning again for an encore appearance, special friend of the show, guest...
Not Tasia, but Jamie Reynolds.
Welcome. So, hot. Feeling hot enough for you guys?
Oh yeah.
I'm in AC right now, man. I'm good. You guys just gotta buck the trend of no AC in Vancouver and get yourselves some proper AC going.
I got to preach the good word of the heat pump. I had one of these installed last year.
Oh, nice.
Tech Climate did it for me, and this thing has been great. We were 23 degrees for the last couple of days, and you walk outside, and you're like, you walk into a wall of heat. You walk inside, you're like, I can live through climate change, maybe. So that's...
Here we have a couple of portable AC units. One that we've had for about 15 years. It had recently serviced just in time, and we also had a hand-me-down from a family member. So we've got one in the bedroom, most important thing, so you can sleep. One in the kitchen, which is nice and refreshing, but the rest of the house is a bit of a sauna. Here in the Momentous studio, we've got a fan going, but I have to turn it off when we record, of course, because, all the noise. Oh, there's another fan.
You actually have you have a boulder in your basement, though, don't you? Doesn't that chill the place?
Yeah, it should. A heat
sink.
If
I go down into the cellar and to spoon it.
Will you be turning into a Morlock before we know it?
Turning.
We actually, the last couple of days, we've gone down to our office here in North Vancouver and enjoyed the air conditioning there.
That's where I'm right now. At my own office. And I'm avoiding my house as long as possible because the insulation in my house is newspaper. So literally, I think coated in borax. It's a 1930s house and they didn't really care about fire retardants back then, apparently.
I think this is Mother Nature's plan of getting people back to work, right? Because it's just like, go back into the office. There's air conditioning there.
I just want to see some of the newspapers that serve as your insulation, Jamie. It's like, new German chancellor seems promising.
Women probably don't really deserve the right to vote.
In the op-ed. Will, what's it like in your place?
It's pretty hot. We have an AC unit, which is a hand-me-down as well, and that pretty much saves us, but it's only in one room. But our house is traditionally hot, and as Gray said, I mean, it's unusual, but you go outside and there's just a wall of heat. It's like, oh, it must be bad if it's hotter outside than it is inside of our house. So the big thing for us is just our pets. Our two cats are just, they go and hang out in the AC, and so the whole family is there. It's bonding.
Jamie, you're a Vegas guy. You're used to this.
Yes, I have. Well, it was funny. I was thinking about that when we were actually camping just in the interior British Columbia in a place called Manning Park. And it got quite hot. And driving back, we were driving through Abbotsford and Chilliwack in the Fraser Valley. And it got up to 45 degrees on our car thermometer and opened up the car window, and it was really darned hot. In Vegas, I think the hottest it got when I was there maybe 41 or 42, but it's different because there's no humidity. So here it's a dry heat. It's or oppressive is a better way of describing it.
My favorite Vegas heat story. I was with a friend when we were in our 20s.
I like there's got more than one.
A friend. No disclosure. And it was like August because we were like 20 and it was cheaper to go then. And we went outside for like 5 minutes crossing the street and his flip-flops melted while we were waiting for the light to change.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're watching the fireworks at Treasure Island and going, I stuck here now. This is where I live. Yeah.
Well, I think when I went with Tristan at one point, and we were young and dumb, and we
Vegas
decided,
virgins at the time.
yeah. So we decided, hey, you know what? Let's just walk the strip, like the entire strip. But we'll go.
We've all done that once.
I know, but we did it in 41 degrees Celsius heat, which is, I don't know, hellscape heat in Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it was incredibly stupid. And but we have a memory. We have a memories.
I went for my 30th birthday. It was 109, and it's just sort of like, this is what Venus would feel like.
Yeah.
Like this
I think
is
it was
a testament
when we went. Yeah,
it's a testament to man's hubris that we built a city in the desert with a Statue of Liberty. Weird, but here we are.
And somehow,
but I am looking forward to going back.
We should put a pin in the phosphine story. Phosphine in the atmosphere of Venus for a future episode, and we'll have our resident space experts, Gray Williams, who is currently studying all things astrophysics, and then of course Jamie, self-styled UAP expert.
I love them. I love them all. Bring me the aliens.
Quick show of hands. Who's got their second vaccine? Yeah. I just hit my 15th day.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I got mine yesterday. Yeah.
Mask tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting too. I'm looking forward to that.
Looking forward to all the conflicts between people with conflicting policies in the different places of business.
Well, I had to do a straw poll around the office and find out what everybody's comfortable with before I decide what the office policy is, because I don't really know. So I made a little sign that says, we ask that you wear a mask, and put that on the front door. And that's about as, hey, just wear a mask, please. And hopefully that'll be fine. We'll see.
I'm going to carry mine with me. Like I'm not putting it away.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Will, do you mind putting a mask on? Because since you don't have your second.
Next week, you get all the jokes out now.
It's okay. I've got McAfee. We're fine.
You got whacked. So speaking of temperatures, here in Vancouver area, part of the Pacific Northwest, as some people in North America,
Pacific Southwest of Canada,
for Canada, we got up to about, I think, 41 in the last couple of days, but it felt in some cases like 45 or more. I had to cancel a roller hockey game on Monday because it was just too much. There's a whole bunch of people died in the last couple of days, double the usual death rate for this time of year from people, and it's being attributed to the extreme heat and people exerting themselves, not used to this sort of thing. If you're living in certain parts of the world, you may be used to this. But there's one story that came out: ground temperatures, I think, like measuring temperature on the ground, like the asphalt and the soil and whatnot, reached an astounding 145 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 61 degrees Celsius in this area. And some hot spots all around, especially northeastern Washington, in the Okanagan here, both sides of the border. It was getting crazy. Osoyoos, which is in the Okanagan here in British Columbia, that's the place that usually holds the temperature records for Canada. They've been baking. I think they were pushing 46, 47 degrees.
I believe
Celsius.
Lytton, which is Canada's desert, right? The driest spot in Canada, reached 47.1.
47.1.
Yeah. Last time it was this hot, I dropped my mixtape. So
they actually got up to above 49, I believe, yesterday. They almost made 50. It was very, very close. But really? 3 days in a row, they broke the Canada's temperature record. So it was pretty crazy.
If you ever get down there, they actually got really good whitewater rafting. And it's right where the Thompson and the Fraser converge. It's a good spot. When it's not 50 degrees.
Yeah.
On the bright side, we can do our cooking right on the pavement, for bacon and eggs and so on. Now, we've talked about how the four of us are lucky enough to have air conditioning either at our homes or offices or both. Unfortunately, some people aren't so lucky because of restrictions, perhaps where they live, or sometimes just the electrical circuits in your house have trouble. Here in our house, our place is 85 years old, and if we have too many things plugged in at once with the AC, so we've got extension cords running across the house to keep the AC on separate circuit from the TV and from on separate circuits from each other and whatnot. And so it's been all sorts of fun kind of managing that. But for those folks who weren't lucky enough to snag air conditioning units, and they can be in the $400 range for the portable ones. In the meantime, there are a number of tricks that you can use to stay cool. Before we get into them, any of you guys, things before you got into the world of AC, any things that you have done to keep you or your pets, your melted pets, a little cooler?
There's the water bottle trick for pets, right? You freeze a bottle of water, wrap it in a wet cloth, and dogs love this in particular. Cats actually are good for it too. Don't try to force it on them. Just put it down, and they will, if they need it, they will go to it. Cats are desert animals, though, so be aware that Stormy is literally right here, but we've got a set of stairs that go right up 2 flights to almost this like concave bubble that heats up so much. He loves it up there. So be aware your cats are probably going to be happier than your dogs in warm weather.
Well, and then one of our cats, we have 2. One of them just stays in the basement, and it stays relatively cool down there. But the other one, he seemed pretty fine when we got back from our vacation, and Tristan's better half actually helped take care of them while we were away. Thank you for
Much
yes, exactly. And in the end, he was really starting to pant quite a bit, which is how they cool themselves down. But we did the trick of wrapping an ice pack in a towel and put it in his bed where he was just conked out in, and he would just snuggle up with it, and it worked really well, and it calmed him down, and he wasn't really drinking much water, and so if they get dehydrated, sometimes they won't even drink water because it's a whole different system that they have or something. Not sure how it works, but you got to be really careful with cats. I've heard stories of cats just acting strangely, and then they're too far gone if you don't get them taken care of right away. But you don't notice anything until it's too late almost. So you do have to be careful with cats as well.
We threw some ice cubes in his fountain, and it both the dog and the cat, they've been good with it.
One of our cats, the male one, he sometimes chooses to go in the heat. He goes out in the hot house and just sort of lays around. But the funny thing, I was sending Tristan some pictures. If the AC is not on, or if sometimes when he's downstairs in the hot room, they go under like pieces of furniture, or because I think it's part of their instinct is to go to caves or covered areas. They feel more secure, but also there tends to be, shade there. So especially, the male cat, he really likes going under one chair in particular and just kind of lounging under there.
Which is something to watch for, because if they're not feeling well, they will hide. This guy, the last time he had a kidney issue, he was hiding. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Oh no. So what some folks have done, there's some great articles out and about all over the web about how to keep yourself and your pets cool in these warm times. One of the things, like if you have a window fan, they say one of the things to do is to make sure you have it set up so it is exhausting the air from your house, so it's pulling a breeze through your house rather than pulling the hot air from outside. You can also swap some of the directions depending on, like say in the evening when it's cooler outside, you can push cool air in. One of the other tricks that people recommend is having a bucket of ice in front of a fan. So if you've got a tabletop fan, you could have a bucket of ice in front of it to cool that. Because
that's called redneck AC.
A swamp cooler. Yeah.
Yep.
We're not judging here.
Yeah, just tell them what it's called. That's all.
Redneck AC. Another thing is you can get a bandana and soak it in water and put that around your neck, cool you down. There's even some technical fabrics that are available for great price on Amazon and other places where you soak them and then you wring them out and you snap them, put them around, and then when they kind of warm up again, you just snap them again, and I guess it redistributes the liquid inside somehow. Again, wow. My much better half picked up a few of those, and they seem to work really, really well. But you can use just regular cotton bandana to save yourself some costs.
Oh, if I could interject, my oldest son, he works for a surveying company, and so he's out in this heat working through the day. He brings lots of water, of course, but he found that fishing shirts actually work really well. So there's a certain type of fishing shirt that he wears that seems to breathe really well and wicks the moisture away. And that wicking of moisture off of your skin is really what helps cool you down. So there's certain types of fishing shirts which apparently work.
Blackout curtains are handy for keeping the sun from coming into your place. And we've got we have blinds, but we have blackout curtains as well that we've put up, which can help. And they say also during the days, keep your windows closed. That feels a little counterintuitive because you think you want a breeze, but you don't want a hot breeze coming into your house. Only once the outside temperature is below the temperature inside your house do you want to, maybe open the doors and windows, mind your pets, of course, if you have any, and then you can start letting that breeze through. Mercifully, it was a little cooler today, so we had a bit of breeze out on our back deck for a change. So it's broken, but it could very likely get warm again, especially as we get into August. This is like June isn't normally anywhere near this hot.
It's usually January.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Well, this was the thing. This time last year, we bought a hot tub. Right? We bought one of these Coleman Cellular Spa inflatable hot tubs, which I managed to get a hole in at some point over the winter. So now I'm inflating it every day. Flex tape is kind of fixing it, but kind of not. I think the flex tape melted in the last couple of days. But we disconnected the heater from it, and it's now just a pool. So, but the fun thing was 2 days ago when it hit, the record temperatures, the heater would not turn on. It gave me an error 08. And basically the translation of the manual is, it's too freaking hot to turn the heater on. Stop it. So I did that. And so it's actually, it's quite cool up there right now. It's like 30 degrees-ish, which is comfortable on a hot day to get into. So if you're looking for those, they're on Amazon, they're on Wayfair, they're everywhere. Last year you couldn't find them. Like you wanted to buy a hot tub, wasn't happening. This year it's like, you want fries with that? They're everywhere. So give that a shot.
Another thing, when it comes to regulating your own body temperature, drinking lots of water is important because we can actually get dehydrated without even realizing it, especially with lots of fans going. As those fans are running and they're pulling the moisture away from our skin to cool us down, they actually dehydrate us. I went on a trip this past weekend on my motorbike, and it's the same kind of thing. You're going lots and lots of wind whipping past you and through you to a certain extent with the ventilation in one's jacket, and you have to keep really, really hydrated because bad things can happen if you pass out from heat exhaustion while riding a motorbike.
Just so we remember, 2 liters if you've got 2 X chromosomes, 3 liters if you've got a Y chromosome. That's the minimum. You should have about 4 liters a day. That's hard to do. I don't know. Have you guys tried to do like the 4 liters a day? I'm peeing a lot. That's a lot.
Coffee. Just get it via coffee and you'll be fine.
But that's the thing is coffee, is a bit of a diuretic, so you got to be careful there.
Not based on how much I drink it. I get enough.
It's a constant battle, and you're winning.
I don't have a problem drinking water, or I don't know what it is about me, but I've got a drinking problem.
And I have my water with me right here. Look at that. This is my second liter for the day, I think.
Yeah. So generally speaking, they say coffee and soda are okay to drink, but alcohol they say you should stay away from. Again, sorry, Jamie, about that. So what kind of beverages do you guys use to cool yourselves down? What you like on a nice hot day, whether it's oppressively hot or just somewhat hot? What are some favorite go-to beverages for yourselves?
Oh, it used to be for me. It used to be a Slurpee. Those are tough though on a hot summer's day because you have them and you really want to have them, but then you get the instant brain freeze if it's too hot outside and you start drinking it. It just hits you right away, and then you don't know what to do because you want to throw it away, but you really want to keep it, and then you just put it on your forehead for a bit and wait for it to go away. Then you drink it again, you get brain freeze again. It's very masochistic, but I still I could do one of those.
Pro tip: if you get brain freeze, they say if you rub your tongue against the roof of your mouth,
it works
as quickly as possible. Yeah, get that palate warmed up again.
Yep.
But I have about one Slurpee or slushy or frozen cold or icy or whatever variation I can find.
Let's keep going. Give them all to us, man.
Oh, jeez. Squishy.
you could do like the one KFC per year plus the one Slurpee per year. You got a day there.
Jamie and I just talked about KFC.
Yeah, we were.
You can, that gravy keeps it cool.
Today was a bad day for me. I went into work and for first time in a long time, and we had Strathcona Brewing is right next to Blink, and so they have a beer called the Headbanger, which after I drunk it realized it was 9.5%. I realized this after I woke up at my desk. That is not a good look for you. Yeah. So I promptly decided to continue on with that particular tack. Went down to Storm Brewing, which you haven't been to in Vancouver, is quite good. They had a lime pilsner, and so I had that with some 7-layer dip while I watched Loki, and that's been my afternoon so far. There's probably more beer in the future for me. It's not going to be good for hydration. ridiculous, but it's delicious. So
Mm-hmm.
YOLO.
Yeah.
How about you, Will?
Well, I've been drinking SodaStream like it's going out of style. So I drink several liters of that. I have a couple Coke Zeros. But the thing my wife and I like to indulge in once in a while is we go and get a slush bubble tea. The only problem with that is the place that we go, I think they turn on the heat in the summer for some reason. It's like the surface of the sun. It's this small little place just around the corner. But the bubble tea is delicious. It's some of the best in the city. I know that's not for everyone, but I love bubble tea.
This live stream is over.
No, you mentioned Coke Zero. Have you guys seen this show up in your supermarkets at all?
Yes.
Diet Coke with extra caffeine.
Oh,
No.
Yeah. They have two flavors, blackberry and toasted vanilla.
Toasted vanilla.
Really?
Yeah. What is going on here?
That's, yeah. Well, it's caffeine's not regulated, so pump it full of caffeine. Jolt
it's
Cola.
good.
Anybody remember Jolt Cola?
Oh, yeah.
You know, CBC actually had a great expose on that when it came out, and it showed up in my YouTube feed the other day. Like, why is this show? Okay, I'll watch it. And there was the story of Jolt Cola.
Was it a Canadian drink or was it just a North American drink?
It was a North American, but there was a Vancouver company that got the rights to it to distribute it through Canada. And everyone was all up in arms. So like, how dare we have more caffeine?
Watch out for that extra. It's got it seems like, wow, this is fine. You think it's okay, and
it's got the original like 19th century cocaine experience in a Diet Coke. Well done, Coca-Cola. Well done.
Yeah.
Totally fine. I don't know what people are talking about.
Asterisk, Graham is not telling the truth there. He's just teasing. Coke, don't worry about it. It's all right.
Another pro tip that I've used over the last few years that we see that works well for me is every once in a while when you find yourself getting a little warm is to run your wrists under really cold water for as long as you can stand. But in lieu of that, I mentioned this a few episodes ago, but my lovely wife just brought them to me after I messaged her surreptitiously here, or not so surreptitiously. I got these things from Amazon a few months ago called Natura Cure. And they're wristbands with basically like gel packs, like cold packs in them. And you keep them in your freezer. And then you be like Wonder Woman. And they deflect bullets. And they keep you cool. So it's actually unbearably cold at the moment. So if I seem a little agitated, that's why.
We're back to masochism, just on the other end of the scale.
Exactly.
You've got Vegas and you've got these.
It's funny you bring that up, Tristan, because the water on the inside of the elbows, because I learned that as a kid from Do the Right Thing, where it was a heat wave and they were actually taking ice cubes and putting it like in the crook of their elbow, the inside of their elbow.
Oh, the elbow, good one.
Well, so down like Abbott and Hastings, they've basically taken one of the fire hydrants and they've turned it into a massive sprinkler, and you can walk through it. And I did that today. It was actually quite comfortable. It's quite nice. It felt like a Spike Lee movie. It's weird. I like it.
A Spike Lee joint.
Spike Lee joint, yes.
So, in terms of, I think we've done a good job of blowing almost 25 minutes talking about the heat.
Talking about the weather like a bunch of old men.
Yeah,
it's a Dennis Leary song right now.
Exactly.
How about that heat? Fair. Yeah.
But in other more earth-shattering news, over the last couple of years, we've had dribs and drabs coming out of leaked footage about some unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, formerly known as UFOs, because as soon as someone says UFO, but then you're a crazy person. Jamie, you've been following this pretty quickly, and the government,
all my life,
the U.S.
man.
government,
all my life.
The U.S. government finally released an unclassified report to Congress of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, information. What's the takeaway from this 9-page report?
Well, it's not bombshellish, depending on how you look at it. The history of this, it's all started, the recent events started in 2017 when the New York Times reported on these videos that were just surreptitiously given to the New York Times via somebody in government that nobody knew who it was. We've since learned it was somebody by the name of Christopher Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in the Clinton and George George Bush administrations, and later for security and information operations. So he's a legit guy, and he saw what was kind of going on, the information that was being collected, and he felt it was important because everybody was dismissing these UAPs or unidentified aerial phenomenon. And his biggest issue was not that it was aliens, but it's that seems like it's actually a very serious security risk for the US. So this report was tucked away in, I think, a COVID bill in the U.S. I don't know the details of that, but it's come out to say basically, look, here's what we know. The U.S. government or the Department of Defense has said what we're witnessing is either random airborne stuff, weather phenomenon, some defense prototypes, either from the U.S. or from foreign adversary systems, and then there's other. So those are the options that they've given as what these things are. They have dismissed, however accurately this is, the fact that it's U.S. systems. They say it's not U.S. systems. They'd be very surprised if it's other terrestrial systems, for instance, China or Russia, because we would have seen stuff from them since these reports have happened. So that's kind of what they talk about as the range of things they think this stuff could be. A lot of these sightings have been most of the sightings that they're talking about have been witnessed firsthand by military advisors. So these are not just farmers in their field looking at stuff. These are fighter pilots, naval officers, this kind of stuff, who are trained observers, and so they're paying attention to these things. And one of the interesting things is that there's been no standardized reporting of UAPs or UFOs because of the stigma attached to it. Only in 2019, when the U.S. Navy established a reporting system, have they really started properly keeping track of this stuff. Partly because of Christopher Mellon's release of these videos back in 2017, it generated interest to say, okay, there is really something going on here. It's not just a bunch of crackpots. Since then, 144 reports have been submitted that are legitimate, that the U.S. felt was, and 80 reports involved observation with multiple sensors sensing the same object. So these are not just one-off, maybe technical issues. These are multiple different sensors.
Not like lens flare or anything.
Exactly.
Like that.
They've already disregarded those. So of these 144 reports, only one has been confidently identified as just simply a deflated balloon, but 143 other ones, they have no explanation. And this is a fairly, the U.S. is pretty good at figuring out what stuff is. They've got a lot of technology to figure things out. So just in 2 years, 144 reports, they have no idea how to explain these things. The report in essence says, give us more money so we can actually study this stuff. So that's because they're saying that it seems like there's technology that exists with some of these things that is not currently known. That is things that have propulsion mechanisms that are not visible, which is nothing that seems to exist, and things that accelerate at amazingly fast speeds that would kill a human occupant, or being able to go transmedium, for instance, from the air to the water without creating splashes, and all these kinds of very strange things from legitimate people reporting, naval officers. Now, these are still people, so people make mistakes all the time, but there's more and more evidence coming along that these things are there's something going on, and whether it's aliens, I don't really know. I don't really care.
I think it's like aliens.
But it's probably aliens, yeah.
I have no idea, but it's probably aliens.
But it's the mystery. Yeah, well, I think there is life in the universe. We don't necessarily know everything that's going on. We think we do. My pet theory just is in the other category. Thinking about how in the past we didn't know that radio waves existed. Mm-hmm. We didn't know about germ theory. We didn't know that all these kinds of things. Theoretically, there's a possibility that there is maybe an alternate sort of reality that we're not in tune with, that we can't see, like infrared or ultraviolet radiation, right?
We can't detect it yet, or we don't know how to detect it.
We don't know how to detect certain things. So it could be, there's dimensional theory or time travelers, all these kinds of crazy things. But it could just be something we just don't understand yet that exists in our world. And this is one of the reasons they're saying, hey, let's just let's figure out what it is. Maybe it is just all weather balloons. But they're kind of saying, no, this is not all weather balloons. We kind of agree now.
Weather balloons don't move that fast.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking at speeds of Mach 5 or even up to Mach 10 for some of these.
So there's one report of a fighter pilot saying that stuff would be basically at 80,000 feet, whatever that is in meters, and then within a second it would be at sea level.
Yeah,
like it would travel just, I don't even know what speed that is.
We're seeing this on cameras as well.
This is on cameras as well as radar images from the carrier support group that was seeing this stuff. There's apparently a ton of information that is not included in this. There's a bunch of classified information that was not included in this report too. So these are things that, as time goes on, we'll see different things. But I've read some other things that recently that have talked about reports from France and from Russia and from Canada. This is not just a U.S. centric thing. This is actually a worldwide phenomenon. And most people say, oh, it's probably just U.S. stuff. But these are things that are actually causing multiple almost mid-air collisions with these UAPs flying towards other aircraft and multiple times in controlled airspace. So you're probably not going to have a lot of that happening by the U.S. government in these kinds of areas. They're going to keep it around, over Area 51 or Andrews Air Force Base or something like that to control it. They're not going to just let it fly and see what happens. So it's just a fascinating opening of some new information about the world, and we just get to find out hopefully what the mystery is in the next couple of decades.
This is very much in contrast to what we saw in, like, we've almost been trained by mass media to discard this stuff. Like the X-Files was kind of the closest thing to like, you can actually kind of, but still even that was sort of like, crazy Fox Mulder. Independence Day, you had Randy Quaid, who turned out to be right at the end of the film. But you have
also turned out to be crazy in real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, art imitates life.
Anyway,
but like Harry Reid, who's the Speaker of the House, came out and was like, no, but for real. like no, really, like this is a thing. And just wait till the report comes out. Here's the report saying, this stuff is doing things that we cannot do with physics right now. We should probably check this out. So it's going to be fascinating to see for the next little while, like how much are governments around the world not talking to each other about this because they're worried that it's somebody else.
Exactly.
Like the U.S. is worried that it's China and Russia. China and Russia are worried that it's the U.S. saying, "Oh, but of course it's not us. It's never been us." Yeah, the SR-71. Really, guys? Yeah. So it's just.
They've even sorry, great. They've even had the problem within the U.S. government where the Navy doesn't always talk to the Air Force, and they're not talking to each other right now.
Oh, you've got a railgun.
Yeah, where I think it was the Navy didn't tell the Air Force about something, and there was some reports about.
Then there was a kaboom, an earth-shattering kaboom. Yeah.
And then they were testing out balloons and hooks or something like that. I can't remember what it was. So now the Air Force doesn't want to say anything to the Navy. So
that was the pickup system they ended up using in like Metal Gear Solid, of like the guy getting picked up by a balloon. Weird. Again,
the thing that about this theory that it's probably just U.S. stuff. The technology seems way far gone, but these are reports that stretch past, we're talking 50 years.
Yeah.
So any technology like the SR-71, for instance, there's like, there's a UFO and it's a triangle shape. And then all of a sudden, then you actually find out, here's our secret tech. We're not finding out about all these secret techs that these UAPs seem to be referencing after decades and decades and decades. So it's something, it just seems like, it feels like it's something different, what it is, who knows? And it could, again, be a completely boring terrestrial answer. It could be some weather thing that we didn't realize, or it could be wormholes, or it could be, we just don't know.
I put my money on wormholes. That's
yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
The only thing, and I agree with you, Jamie, it's exciting and it's interesting. I just want, it seems like a common theme, but I kind of just want people to follow science and not jump to conclusions, because it's a tiptoe and a jump to lizard people and aluminum moons. So we really do need to keep.
To be fair, the moon is made of aluminum, but we'll save that for another day.
Three.
Yeah, but I just think that we need to, like good scientific method, like good scientists, taking all the research, go through all the different things, discount different things, apply scientific method, and come to a conclusion.
This is what this report is really about, is because they weren't collecting data. They've been dismissing it all, ignoring the evidence, and just saying, no, weather balloon, no, swamp gas. Oh no, it's Venus. It's
Wasn't the report? It didn't actually deny many of those things, though. It still left them open as possibilities.
No, it said that they've said it could be a weather phenomenon that they're not familiar with, but any terrestrial or planetary or star explanation, they've gone through all these things, and they've gone through and they've discounted those kinds of things, like the weather balloon hypotheses. If there was say, hey, that is probably a weather balloon, they're not 100% sure, then they would discount it. So there's 143 of these things. They just can't say, hey, that's a weather balloon, or that's just a plane landing. So it's the fact is because this has had such a stigma for the last 60 years or so, that they haven't been collecting the data to analyze. So that's what this report is basically saying. Look, we're going to start collecting data. We're going to take the stigma away from aviators who can now come to us and say, hey, I saw a UAP, a UFO, whatever you want to call it, and here's what the details were, because there are hundreds and if not thousands of reports from commercial and military aviators that are just didn't get reported because they didn't want to be told they were crazy. And so that's the science they need to follow. And in the end, again, if it's just a boring answer, great. I want to know what it is. But we don't know what it is, but people will, but it's good to have theories. And I don't think it's wise to discount the alien theory just because it seems outlandish.
Well, I thought they weren't discounting anything, but maybe I have to read the report again.
They're not discounting anything outlandish, but they've analyzed these things in such a way that they are confident that, especially the ones that are traveling at greater, traveling against the wind, traveling whatever, that these are not normal ways of doing things. They have said there is a technology, there seems to be a technology that we don't understand involved here. So that's an interesting.
That's not what I got out of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's what I got out of it.
I mean, we have spent 50 years basically demonizing anybody that said, I've seen something that doesn't quite seem earthly.
Yes.
Right. And that's bad science. That's like saying we definitively know that this is not a thing is bad science. Mm-hmm. Taking the time and going, okay, we don't know, and let's gather more data. That's good science. So,
correct.
Well, good for us for getting there. It only took us 50 friggin' years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, more when you think about it, because Foo Fighters were first reported toward the tail end of World War II. That was 1944. Right? So that's 77 years ago. We could have been collecting data in a structured way that entire time. And then 1947 was Roswell. Just 3 years later. So it's a shame now. They're not Foo Fighters; they're Tic Tacs. In the U.S. Navy videos that were leaked a couple of years ago. So if anyone's interested in learning more about those specific videos, just go to YouTube and search for Tic Tac videos, and hopefully you won't get a bunch of 80s commercials about the tasty candies.
Just one calorie.
Just one calorie. Exactly. So more to come. Be interesting because we haven't even talked about the possibility of trans-dimensional.
Oh, now you're going too far, man. Come on.
Who knows?
I'm here for this.
I don't know. It could very well be. We just don't know. We can't be closed-minded, but we can't just assume that we know the answer either.
Well, I just watched Godzilla versus Kong a week or two ago, and I just learned that the Earth is hollow. How about that? And there's another whole world inside there.
Okay, so you joke about that, but there were actually some scientists about 2 months ago that they were saying there's a stratification layer inside the Earth's crust that isn't responding quite the way they think it's going to. Hollow Earth. Yep. I'm just saying.
DVD.
Yep. I'm here for this.
How can the Earth be hollow if it's flat, though?
Well, you ever made a pancake with an air bubble in it?
Oh.
It's actually the turtle that's holding up the Earth.
It's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, it's all turtles, man.
Yeah. So another space-related news, Elon Musk says Starlink will be available worldwide in August. So Starlink is the SpaceX initiative to deploy thousands of low-altitude satellites providing broadband access to people in rural regions. So they expect to serve more than 500,000 customers within a year. I actually have a high school friend who lives in the Okanagan, rural Okanagan, who just hooked up with a Starlink, and she loves it compared to the crappy satellite internet she had before, which was barely even dial-up speeds.
Well, 'cause it was 200 megabits per second down, but it was like 56K up. Right? It was the broadcast back that was a problem. This is perfect timing. My parents just got reliable microwave internet, so 2 months after that, well done, Elon. Just missed it.
So it'll be available worldwide except the North and South poles. So sorry, researchers.
Nope.
Starting in August.
Going back to our first story, did you see that a bunch of the Starlink receiver units were overheating? Taja's not here, but a bunch of people in Arizona who have them were suffering. And so one guy actually just basically took his garden hose and ran it over it and kept it cool. And that was doing it. I guess the water wasn't enough to disrupt the signal, but these things were shutting down a little like my hot tub. So same technology, really. We're going to worry about this a lot more for the next little while, aren't we? Like it's going to be everything from internet to, I mean, your phone at 45 degrees centigrade is not doing well.
Oh yeah, I saw my dad on the weekend, and he had left his phone in the car, and it had a heat warning, and he couldn't use it for a few minutes until it cooled down. Don't leave your phone, just like your pets. Don't leave your phones in the cars, people.
Mine does that when I'm arguing with people on Twitter. So,
one of the things, just back to the actual story we should be talking about, because we've talked enough about the weather. Thank you very much.
How dare you keep us on topic?
I was researching the Starlink back a while when, because my family is a bit of a boating family. So I was curious. Oh well, how will Starlink work if you put it on your boat? As of right now, it needs to be a stationary position thing, so it won't work for driving in your car in the middle of the desert. But once you park or once you dock and go on land and you can get locked into a signal, it will work. But it does not currently work for anything moving. So in an RV or anything like that, don't expect it to solve your internet problems if you're on the road or on the water.
Too far out, though. That can't be.
Yeah, I think they were working on it, but the problem is, if you've seen them work, it's interesting. The dish or whatever it is, it will open up and it will physically move and lock itself into the satellite that it gets to and stay there. And then, because it's geostationary satellites in orbit, so if you're moving on a boat, a little bit of movement down below, it's going to be way far away from exactly where the satellite is. So that was just an interesting little tidbit on the Starlink stuff, and it's expensive.
Well, because this is the same technology that we use with telescopes right now to basically track objects in the sky as they're moving around. And so there are some really cool new ones that have come out in the last year or so that are high speed, like they lock on and they track fast. Like they don't move. So it'll be interesting to see maybe if that kind of cross-pollinates into Starlink. It'll have to. Elon's the kind of why don't we just go buy that? And so look for Celestron to get bought by Elon at some point soon. This is not sacrifice. Don't do it.
So the Starlink hardware apparently is going for, it costs nearly $1,300, but SpaceX is only charging users $499. So I guess you just make it up in volume. Eventually, they want to bring the device down to
extended warranty.
Exactly, and they want to bring the price for customers down to $250, $300 or so. The monthly cost, I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but it was competitive, I believe, with the previous satellite offerings. So it'll take them a while. When you look at lifetime customer value, and I guess I'll make it up in the long term there. But it's a real boon for your rural users who have had to use dial-up. AOL still exists, and other local dial-up internet providers, and of course previous generations of satellite service. And as Gray mentioned, could provide some decent downstream, but going upstream, say if you want to do video conferencing calls with friends and family and for work, it's hot garbage.
I've got to put Rogers and Bell on blast. My parents moved into their place in 2006, and there were 40 houses that were built into it. Was a farm before that. The kids that inherited the farm split it up, turned it into 40 plots, and they were told 2006, 2 years by Bell and Rogers, 2 years you will have high-speed internet. It is 2021, and they still do not have high-speed internet from Rogers or Bell. They're literally, like I said, getting a microwave signal from Brantford broadcast into a tower that's literally 100 yards away from them. That is insane to me. This is why people like Elon are coming along and doing stuff like this, because so often these major corporations are just forgetting people. So good for you, Elon. You still miss my parents, though.
So speaking of remembering people, especially the little guys out there, WorldCoin wants to give you crypto in exchange, wait for it, for your eyeball scans. Its creators want a crypto-based UBI or universal basic income and plan to use an eyeball scanner to prevent fraud. So they give a little and they take a little. If you thought cryptocurrency shenanigans ended with Dogecoin and NFTs, you should probably sit down for this one. Now, this was launched by a fellow named Sam Altman, who is the former CEO of Y Combinator, which is a startup incubator that's been operating in Silicon Valley for the last 10 or 15 years. So this is, no crank, let's put it this way, but a lot of people are paying attention to this initiative called WorldCoin, which is seeking to displace Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies out there. And they've raised $25 million from investors so far, including money from Andreessen Horowitz, the VC firm, Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, and others. So, Graham, you like crypto and you're a fan of the notion of UBI. What do you think of this?
Yeah, everything's the eyeball thing is really the thing that I think people are getting stuck on. I've seen Demolition Man. This didn't work out well. I've seen what was the one with Tom Cruise? Minority Report. This didn't work out. The eyeball scan is an interesting one. Like it's if you just had said we're going to use biometrics, right? People would be good with it. I want your eyeballs. Ugh. Also, a guy named Altman running an altcoin. This seems a little sketch to me. I'm just saying. Honestly, though, great idea. Like great idea. And so this is actually one of the things that we're seeing right now with DeFi is a lot of folks out there who
decentralized finance for the
decentralized finance versus TradFi, which is white guy making all of the money. I believe is how that's actually like encapsulated.
That's what Jamie wants to do.
Well, but looking at this. Like these systems right now, we're seeing things with like Terra and a bunch of other systems where they have these yield firms where the whole network, the proof of stake, is literally yielding like 20% interest for people. And so you're looking at this and saying, okay, if I put the principal here and I can pay my Netflix bill, I can pay my cable bill, I can pay my rent, literally off the yield on this stuff. There are systems here where traditionally this has been funneled up to 1 or 2 people in the world. And suddenly they've got these computer nerds who are coming along saying, how about the rest of us? Where I think they have a lot of issues we're seeing is marketing. They don't know how to talk to ordinary people about this. And so, yeah, like, well, I'll give you universal basic income in exchange for your eyeball scans. Of course, this is, who is this? Gizmodo. Of course, it's Gizmodo. But it's sensationalized. But realistically speaking, if you had a way to verify that an end user was that person, and we could actually have universal basic income where we all have our needs taken care of, and if you want a little bit more, you go work for a little bit more. Is this Star Trek? Is this utopian? It feels a little utopian to me. I'm good with it.
And to be fair, it's not Gizmodo or any other anyone else's job to soft pedal this for you. It is iris scans that they want to do. So tell it like it is. Will, would you agree to have your iris scan to participate in a universal basic income scheme? Because the whole idea is that everyone's iris is unique. And so just like for identification purposes, we've seen for some cross-border entry and things like that, same kind of thing. What do you think, Will? We know what Tasia would say. She's like, who cares?
Sign me up. I know that's what you scam me. I'll be the first one. I will say sort of what I said last week to you, Tristan, which is I'm not the first person on the transporter pad. Let them work this on
and Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Yeah,
I'll be the 10 millionth person to do this. Let's work out some of the bugs first.
What about you, Jamie?
Well, it all comes down to this whole privacy thing in the end. It depends on how much, we're leveraging our privacy with money is what it comes down to. Now, and when this seems like a sort of a private enterprise here that wants to provide UBI, but UBI is something that would be provided by governments, which is for the people. So this would be a public-private thing going on. Ultimately, it's not like they're physically taking your eyeball, but it's always rife for problems. But so are in Canada our social insurance numbers, right? That's your unique identifier. So if somebody gets that, they can do some damage if they have the right other information. So I think having something like this, we use our thumbprints now. We don't even think about it. It's worried about where our thumbprints go, anything like that. Not a big deal. And so I think this is probably a next evolution kind of idea. Now, the whole concept of UBI, again, a good conversation for another day. I have some misgivings about UBI itself, but I think the concept of making sure that to make things as difficult as possible for systems to be abused by making sure an individual is an individual, then I think there's probably some benefits to it. Yes.
I think for the first go, I would be tempted to set up a dummy account and use one of the creepy dolls we have hanging around in our basement and scan its iris and see if that might work. Graham, if you scroll down to the bottom of this story, there's a great example of one technique that people could use right there.
That Demolition Man. This is Simon Phoenix as
classic 80s cinema right there, everybody.
Played by Wesley Snipes' first tax violation. Phenomenal film. Yeah. Big fan.
This also just goes to show, sorry to kick it back a little bit, how far we've gone in terms of identifying people and identifying who you are. If you watch or read something like Taming of the Shrew, where the main character actually lies about his identity to take on another identity, they took you at your word in the Shakespearean time. They didn't need any proof. Pictures didn't look like you necessarily. If you go to Blackadder, Blackadder actually disguises himself as a prince at the end because no one actually knows what the prince looks like. So, and now we're getting to iris scans.
You think we're so advanced, but do you know how to use the 3 seashells?
Really? Exactly. Will, I hate to tell you, but because you mentioned Taming of the Shrew, you've been canceled. I apologize.
10 Things I Hate About You is a great film, and I won't hear otherwise.
It was a fun show. I enjoyed that one.
It's all right, time.
50 minutes into this week's episode, we're finally getting to our main story.
Oh boy.
Windows 11 preview was previewed by Microsoft last week, and they are indeed turning it up to 11. So insert all your Spinal Tap references that people always go nuts because there's only so many ideas in the world. But after weeks of teasers and leaks, Windows 11 is official. Looks like it'll be coming out later this year, and looks nice on the surface.
Yep.
But there's always more to the story, and there's some interesting design choices they made, some interesting UI and UX choices they've made. Jamie, as a longtime Windows user, I mean, you're not the only Windows user here, just to be clear, but the most steadfast one of the four of us.
Yes,
in terms of current usage. Yep. Can you walk us through some of the highlights as you see them?
I'll try and do this quickly since we're running out of time here, and I want. So I enjoy technology. I like talking about it. I don't go to, I don't dig under the hood for OSs, and how they run. For me, it's all about practicality. It wasn't going to do for me. I've not tried Windows 11, of course. It's all very preview at this point, but I did the cursory review of things, and the promo video that they sent out was quite slick, glassy, rounded, transparent. That seems to be the current the current modus operandi for Windows 11. Really reminded me of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Pure Imagination.
Would you call it lickable?
You know what? I wanted to lick my screen. I really did. How did you know?
Steve Jobs is rolling in his grave right
now. So it looks quite nice. The interesting choice about the centering of the taskbar, much like in the Mac OS, and the Chrome OS has done that as well. And apparently it's done for easier touch input for handheld or touchable screens, which is something Windows has been migrating to and has migrated to in many ways. For me, I'm not a big fan. Luckily, you can change it back to go to the left. For a lot of it, for me, is about muscle memory. So the problem is if you add more things to the taskbar, it will stretch this way, and you lose a bit of the where things are in your taskbar. But again, minor stuff. One of the things I'm excited about is the multi-screen memorization. So right now I'm literally hooked. I've got 4 monitors right now, and when I disconnect something, it all kind of stacks on my screen, and then I hook it all back up, and it's just stacked on my screen. Now, if I hook things back up, it'll just send everything back to where it was, and it makes things very efficient that way. So I'm looking again, a small little detail, a lot of functionality for me though in my just regular workday, which I need technology, but it's not about the technology. It's about what the technology does for me. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. idea. They
Welcome
focused
to
on
1989. Woo!
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
It's
Apple's had it for a while. I'm sorry, what?
Fair enough. Yeah, and and interesting too. It's like widgets. So widgets is another thing with that they've integrated. They've taken away tiles and put widgets in, and that's something that Android, of course, has had for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Bye Metro. They've totally turned their back on the Metro design, which is just kind of sad.
Yeah, and then and that's something the widgets is something that Apple just introduced finally onto the iOS. So again, everybody
2004 to Mac OS 10. 2004 was it? Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It was 2004 Mac OS 10.
That's fine. No, but what I'm saying is that everybody borrows technology.
Yes.
So what with iOS is they didn't have widgets for a long time. I think you actually, Graham, just said you were looking forward to finally having that on your iPhone.
They've taken an interpretation of it and it looks
exactly. I've had widgets for years on my Android stuff, and
thank you for beta testing for us.
There you go. And again, thank you for beta testing all the screen stuff. It goes both ways. So
I love the name widget, by the way. I just love that. That's
it is a good
vernacular.
Name. Yeah, I know.
Add in some sprockets and we're good to go.
There you go. Android apps will run in Windows 11 in a weird, kludgy sort of way.
Through Amazon.
You have to download the Amazon App Store, and then you only get a subset of all the Android apps right now, anyways, because Android.
Progress.
But again, at least you can use your apps on there. So that's an interesting idea. Go to where the customers are. If they're using Android apps, throw them on there. There you go. More people. A weird one is that Teams is being pushed as the way to communicate with people, whereas Windows or Microsoft bought Skype a few years ago for $8 billion, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, you could just stay there. We're going to make Teams how you talk to people, not Skype, which everybody knows about. So that's I don't know. Again, I got to try it and see what it is.
It's my understanding. I could be wrong on this. That they used a lot of the Skype technology to build Teams from the ground up, and then for our business purposes, they started retiring or trying to retire or deprecate Skype for Business a couple of years ago. And in our business, we moved to Teams right away. And speaking of beta testing, but it's continued to add features, and Microsoft is all in. I think also the branding, it's Microsoft Teams, just like Microsoft SharePoint and Microsoft 365 and all that.
To me, though, they're trying to turn it into for everybody, whereas Teams really sounds like a business thing, and I don't know if it's going to catch on really well. And I got one more.
Microsoft Teams Home Edition.
As last week, they launched Teams for Families.
Oh, did they? Teams for Families. That makes no sense to me. I think that's silly. And then
Teams for Families 2021 Home Edition.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing that I quick take on my stuff review of it or look at it was app developers can now bring their own commerce into the Windows Store and keep 100% of the revenue.
Shots fired.
Microsoft takes nothing. App developers can still use our commerce with competitive revenue share of 85 to 15. So that was an interesting look. Again, everybody kind of looks at everybody else, what's going on, and let's do it a little differently and draw more people in. So it's all just business. And they got to update stuff. And I think, the biggest one though is, again, I thought they were smart to show the gaming stuff, because gaming's always been where Windows wins, right? It's really everything's, I know lots of people who are Apple people, but they have their gaming rig, which is I find interesting. But so by focusing on that, the integration with Xbox, they've really shown that real-time HDR upgrading or something. I don't know the full details, but it looks cool. It's an OS. It's an OS that allows you to run your software, which is kind of what I use it for. So and it does other things better for me as well with all this old screen tech, I guess.
I think it's more than that, though. This is the first time in a while where Microsoft has put their foot down. You have to have a TPM module in your PC to run this. And that is not an old thing. This is a relatively new piece of technology. Apple did
it's about 5-6 years old from what I understand.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think back to when Windows Vista launched, when Windows 7 launched, and when Windows 10 launched, you were running back like a decade worth of hardware that these things would run. To cut that in half is absolutely insane. I've been begging Microsoft to do this for years. This is the one. This is the one where they take all of that cruft and they go, "You're done. We're done with you." I
think it's great.
Yeah.
From what I understand, of that technology. It's really meant to make things more secure, and you have to, at some point you have to just say. And the problem with having the Windows has to try and run on so many different kinds of machines that there is going to be that cutoff for sure. But yeah, it seems to be the right way of doing things.
I drew a line in the sand. I guess one of the wrinkles that annoys some people is that they're still selling some of their own native devices, such as the Surface Studio 2, which is a $3,500 desktop machine that won't be able to run Windows 11. At least
it's not great optics. But you know, they
got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. So maybe they should put that one on clearance, like ASAP, and get Surface Studio 3 out
exactly.
the
They had to do it, and honestly, like having the courage of their convictions. This is huge. This is a new Microsoft for me. I'm so proud of them for just giving her. So well done.
Seems like it's a good idea.
Yeah. One of the other little features is the addition of support for dynamic refresh rates, which is nice, especially for people that are on laptops and want maximum refresh rates when gaming, for example. But then when you're just doing word processing or email, you don't need to be burning battery cycles to keep your screen at high refresh rates there. But speaking of gaming, one of the other things that was kind of announced around the same time was xCloud on PC and iOS. And it was a little tricky getting xCloud, their cloud gaming service, Microsoft's cloud gaming service, into a platform like iOS. For example, what are some of the implications here, Graham and/or Will? If you guys do you want to chime in on this?
I mean, this one's been a big one for Microsoft, right? They've really tried to get people into the idea of Microsoft Game Pass. So Xbox Live Gold was the first subscription service where we want you to pay to play against other people online, which for people coming from the PC world was like, are you insane? But it brought a ton of really cool features, right? Like friends lists and being able to communicate easily without having to use things like Mumble and other stuff like that. It was great. Apple kind of came down on them as well. Like they said, you're not putting xCloud on the App Store. It's another store. We're not letting you do that. So Microsoft did what Microsoft does, and they put it in a browser, and it works. I've actually tried it. This works. It's great. And so right now, like their competition is predominantly Sony, and Sony's done extremely well with the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 because they've got a ton of really great first-party titles. And so what Microsoft has done is what Microsoft does. They've thrown a ton of money at it. And so basically, if you have an Xbox Game Pass, you get all of their first-party titles the day that they launch for the price of your subscription. I love my Halo 1 through 3. Anything past that where it's 3 person, I'm like, yeah, all right. I'm a Bungie guy. That's why I play Destiny. But the new Halo Infinite, I'm here for this, and I'm probably going to play on my iPad in a browser with a PlayStation 5 controller, and that's weird and awesome. But Microsoft's getting my money, so they've done something right here.
This is a bit of the dream, right, Gray? I mean, this has been going on for a long time in terms of trying to get to this level where we can play across systems and just log on to a cloud. Was it on cloud about 15 years ago or something like that, or 14 years ago when they just started the idea of cloud?
I had one of these
subscriptions. Yeah. And the problem there was latency. The cloud computing wasn't quite powerful enough. We didn't have Amazon Web Services and things like this to
fast enough connections.
Enough connections, and just cloud computing was still in its infancy in the late 2000s. But now we're finally seeing some of this come to fruition, right? And this really is a bit of a game changer. If I know, Gray, you mentioned when we were talking about E3 about playing, not necessarily being tied to exclusives because you could play across on Xbox and Game Pass and this kind of thing. And this is where we're looking at maybe a bit of a different model. And I know we've been getting away from discs, but this is maybe even getting away from systems a little bit.
Yeah.
I've heard we still need to work on the latency a little bit, but it's pretty good. And considering that you are dealing with very different pieces of hardware, like a gaming system or a PC or an iPad or something like that, I mean, that's to be expected to a certain extent because you're dealing with machines that have very different capabilities. So to try to do all of that is kind of amazing. And I think this is a huge step forward. I mean, maybe I'm overblowing it, but I think this is really exciting in the world of gaming.
I don't think you are, right? Like the idea that I have a 100-watt plus device here chewing up energy in my house with the processing on board, all of the climate stuff that goes into making one of these things versus just having a video signal and a control signal going in and out. Stadia's got the right idea. Game Pass has got the right idea. We haven't quite been there, but you know what? I honestly think this is the last generation of home consoles. I think PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. After this, why would you? Why would I want that in my house? Why would I want to pay $600, $700 for that when I can just pay a subscription fee? This is, yeah.
I don't know if you guys even remember this reference, but Genesis actually had a cable channel that you could connect to where you could play Genesis games off of your cable TV.
Wow.
And I remember being blown away by that in the mid 90s. But yeah, it's going to become, the cable company is what these companies are going to become rather than hardware companies. And I think it's just awesome.
The dream of the 90s is alive in Xbox.
Can I do you one better, Will?
Sure. Please.
December 1980, a 9-year-old Tristan visits family in Quebec. And much to his amazement, he sees gaming available through the Videotron cable TV service.
Whoa.
One person could log in at a time and play really basic, I think, basic graphics, maybe even mostly text-based games through the cable line.
Wow.
That's impressive, though, for 1980.
Yeah.
Wow.
1980.
Yeah, I wasn't even around yet.
But the latency. Now, Google Stadia has been, giving this a go for a couple of years now, and it hasn't really taken off in the way that some people may have hoped it was. And latency was one of the key issues there. You're never going to get it quite as fast as playing on a native system. Now, Jamie, you have been gaming for a long, long time. I don't know if you'd consider yourself a hardcore gamer at this point, but
not anymore. I'm a little too old for that, young whippersnapper.
We're 25 years on from your LAN parties. Your Alien versus Predator LAN parties at the office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what would it take for you to entertain the notion of subscribing to a service like Google Stadia or Microsoft xCloud?
Well, yeah, again, I don't do console gaming anymore. My current, I sometimes will, I'll boot up No Man's Sky and play a little bit of that and just mine some active Indium here and there and
what are you
make some
playing
units.
that on?
I'm playing that on my laptop. Yeah,
Okay,
my MSI gaming laptop that I use for work because it's great for graphics. But it's. I'm probably not the right demographic for it, unfortunately. So for me, the boys might they might do that kind of thing because they're much more mobile. It's a lot about mobile gaming these days. But and my youngest son Chris, he's 21, and he decided he's going to get himself a desktop, and because he wants to have something powerful that he can do lots of different stuff on. So if you're already going to get something that's powerful for doing whatever kind of content creation you want to do, you probably already have the technology built in to play games. So why would you then pay something else in order to play the mobile games if you really want to just sit down and play your game there? So it might still be something that's not quite there because there's other things. But if we can get other kinds of things other than games on the cloud, then it might, once everything shifts to the cloud, then we're back to just dumb terminals and everything's off of the mainframe server back to the days of my university days up at Simon Fraser University. So yeah, it's interesting technology, but if you're talking about getting rid of consoles, I think what Gray says is correct. I think that might be the end of consoles with this, but I don't think it'll take the place of PC gaming yet. I think that's still something that's going to continue.
Yep.
Well, this is the other thing about consoles as well, is that they're computers. We just call them consoles. They're single use computers, or I guess these days they're multi-use computers.
Yeah, usually a couple years out of date by the time they come out.
Exactly. So there's actually an advantage to PC gaming, right? Because you can update, but it's nice to have something like an Apple that's designed to do one task. But there's a yin and yang there, right?
I will say this: my PlayStation 5 can play Destiny at 4K. 120 frames per second. My PC cannot do that, and I paid 3 times the price for it.
Is that what color's on?
That's what. And this is the thing. Like it's 4K 60 frames per second. It's 1080p 120 when you're doing PvP, but it's fast and it's smooth.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas I have fought with this goddamn PC that I have built. It's the ship of Theseus for sure, but it's just like it has just been a nightmare for me. Can I tell you the worst thing? Do you guys know about GPU sag?
GPU
GPU sag. Yeah, motherboards.
I heard that
vertical.
happens after
Oh,
50.
Right.
Yeah.
Motherboard's vertical. Your massive graphic card is now horizontal. And what does it do? It starts to sag. You know what's holding it up right now? A pack of 3M sticky notes and a pack of cards. It's holding up my graphics card.
Don't they have screws in these things anymore? Back when I was building
it's
PCs.
two little screws. Anyway, it's just, I'm going to send you a picture.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
Please.
But this is the thing is like I actually have
Build
Destiny
quality,
2.
Ray. Build
I have
quality.
Destiny. blame the craftsman. I've got
Exactly.
Destiny 2 on my PlayStation. I've got Destiny 2 on my PC. And when I want to relax, I play on the PlayStation. When I want to play with friends, I play on the PC.
Mhm.
But every once in a while, I just sit back with that controller. And this is the thing: is really that experience now is going to be just a broadband connection and that controller. I don't need the hardware here anymore. That latency, we're getting there. I think I think this is the last gen.
So if someone is interested in xCloud from Microsoft, you can play some of the biggest games on Xbox, including next generation Xbox Series X games, right in the Saturn browser across phones, tablets, laptops, PCs, all for just $15 US a month. No $500 console required. So that could be the game changer, getting people in the door without having to pay upfront for a console.
Look for a sale. You can do it for a quarter of that price. Watch for like the May sales and the back to school sales. You can get it for much cheaper.
Moving on, this is just a quick thing. Pouring one out, well, a long time ago. This is a funny little feature in The Verge they do once in a while called Button of the Month. And they're sort of longing for the days of when devices, like especially our slabs of glass known as smartphones and you're getting into tablets now, when they used to have buttons on them. And the Palm Pre home button was the first to be the last. It was the first one to lose its home button. And I had to bring this one up because Jamie was the only Palm Pre owner that I knew of. It was Palm Pre at the time was designed by John Rubenstein, who left Apple. He was one of the original designers of the iPod, and then since went on to other places. But the Palm Pre, it was sad when that actually died. But on its first step to dying was removing the home button. Jamie, any Palm Pre memories to share with us?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I'd like to have the buttons back. I can actually type faster on those keys than I can on my phone, no matter what keyboard configuration. I want that phone back, but just bigger, a little bit taller, a little bit wider, but give me some buttons to press. The tactile feedback, as much as I've gotten used to using, swiping on my keyboard or whatever it is, I find the key press is actually a more efficient way for me to type something out. But nowadays, again, if I'm doing a text, if I'm sitting at my computer, I'll just pull up my messages for web and type it on there, and then it just sends the text that way. So I type way less on my phone than I ever used to. So it's becoming a bit of a moot point, or mute for those people that don't understand grammar. Sorry, I'm punchy. I apologize.
Is it because you're perturbed by being in a post-Palm Pre planet? Is that
I am. Yeah. Well, WebOS again. It was way ahead of its time. There's a lot of even the current swiping away of apps that exist now. That was in WebOS. It was really it was way ahead of its time, but it was just almost too ahead of its time. But there's something.
That home button to bring up the card interface to swipe it in between.
Exactly. Yeah, you would do that kind of thing. But things just evolve and change, and Betamax versus VHS, and Betamax should have won, but they just didn't. So there's a whole reason for that. We all know what that is. But the home button was always it was kind of, it would come and go and come and go and come and go, and but I do miss the Palm Pre for many reasons.
You had good taste. You had good
one
taste.
of the other, to its credit, the Palm Pre was one of the first mainstream smartphones to have wireless charging as well. And
I had that.
Yeah. And what was that? What was it called? Was it something Stone?
Touchstone.
Oh yeah, Touchstone.
Yeah, actually, and one of the things I liked about it, and I don't know I have a Samsung one right now that's wireless charging actually over there on my charger, but the Palm Pre had a magnet, and so it would actually, and I don't know if that, maybe Apple phones have that too, but it would actually sit on the phone and it would actually adhere to the charger, so it wouldn't fall off, which I kind of miss, because right now mine sits on it, but it doesn't actually kind of get sucked on by a magnet.
It only took Apple 12 generations to get to that one. More actually.
Yeah.
We're there. The iOS 12 does it. All right,
And the magnet, and they kind of repurposed the name MagSafe to for wireless charging of the iPhones, but it does, at least it sticks to it. Yeah. So moving on, as we get into our last short strokes here, I have a confession. It took me years and years. I was at least 4 movies behind when my good friends Will and Graham introduced me to the Fast and Furious franchise, because
I've never seen one. I've never seen one.
I had looked down my nose.
You were in for a treat
on these movies, and the first one I believe I saw was Fast 5. And I'm like, where have these movies been all my life? You got to take them for what they are. And
So
seen everyone since then. Yes.
Compare and contrast to 12 Angry Men, and then we'll go
exactly.
from there.
You know, the courtroom scene in Fast 9 is, I would say, superior.
All right.
If Graham, if you go to the Fast 9 in 4DX is a bit much. Speaking of one angry man, we got a great shot of Vin Diesel with his arms crossed there. But I think it was Will that gave me Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6 on Blu-ray, and of course there was other subsequent movies, Hobbs and Shaw. And for Hobbs and Shaw was the first one that my dear wife saw, and now she's hooked. So we've been going right back to the beginning, because it's silly. It's just a bunch of hot cars racing around, some barely intelligible dialogue, but it's all about family. And you got some bouncing ladies here and there. It is what it is. But number 9 just came out last week, and it's available in 4DX, which is with the rumbling seats and all that kind of stuff. So those of you, I assume Jamie's not going to be with the program here unless he catches up real quick. But Graham and Will, are you planning on seeing Fast 9 A in the theater? And B, are you interested in getting having that extra bit more with the technology such as 4DX or something comparable?
Well,
I want to see it in theater. I think these are sort of how these movies should be seen. I love theaters. You guys know that. So I want to see it in theater. I'm going to wait for 2 weeks after I'm vaxxed my second time to go in. I'm not a 4D. Don't they also call this D-box? Which
they
I
do
always
call it
think
D-box.
is the funniest name. It's like, man, you're such a D-box.
Yeah.
So I'm all in. Tristan, my love for this franchise. I think it took me a couple movies. It was somewhere around 4, I think. I really got all in. You just got to flip your brain off and just enjoy. Eat some popcorn. Watch some ridiculous stunts. There's always that one scene, the one contrivance where they have to go to a car race.
Yeah.
And it's like they pan in and there's ladies scantily clad leaning over cars for no defined
Do they actually
reason.
have pig flips out right now? They've got pig flips out right now. What's going on?
And there's like music bumping.
I think Jamie has just signed up. So.
And then Vin
I wasn't going to
Diesel,
say anything, but you now have my attention. Yes.
They pan to Vin Diesel and he just says, "I'm home," or "I love this shit," or "This is where I'm at," or something like that.
For myself personally, I try to reach the peak of my fastness and furiousness, and really I can only achieve that through 4DX or D-Box. So I will be going to do this in the 4DX experience. The nice thing is, you know how all of these end, right? Because these are actually just prequels to the Chronicles of Riddick series. So when you know that that's where this is going, it's great. So I'm excited to see them fill in the middle of this saga for me. It's quality. I'm looking for it. So a little bit more fast, a little bit more furious this time next week.
I can't wait till they're all racing in the pitch dark or pitch black.
Great movie. That's a great movie.
They'll shine your eyes for a pack of menthols, which was weird. They retconned that in the second one, which I didn't think they should have done. But still.
Yeah. Anyway, but Fast 9 is not streaming on HBO Max, and this is a little bit of a controversial decision because many blockbusters have been coming out over the last few months on major streaming services such as HBO Max and Disney Plus and so on, and in lieu of theaters being open in a lot of cases, thanks to the global pandemic. What do y'all think of this? Is it too soon to be forcing people into the theaters to see? People have to wait months to see Fast 9 on HBO Max at this point.
No! Oh heavens!
Well, is this going to lead to more piracy? Are people just going to find it on BitTorrent? Like what's?
I mean, there's so much. Like, are you guys feeling pressed when you don't see something nowadays? I don't. Yeah. Maybe I got to hang up my eye patch.
Yeah. You just got to stay off Twitter because of spoilers and other things.
Just stay off Twitter in general. But yeah.
It's a tough one because, I mean, I love movie theaters. I think you guys all love movie theaters. And, at some point we do need to transition. It's hard to know when. They've taken a bath for 16 months. So, I don't think there's necessarily a right way of doing this. They're trying the best that they can. So it's been an interesting experience for streaming, but I don't think it's a great experience for something like Fast 9 or Black Widow, which those are movies that I would definitely see in theaters.
Have you seen my TV?
And your sound system, you keep on saying I gotta listen to it.
The thing for me, if I can interject, is I have the superpower Tristan's fully aware of. Whenever I go to a movie theater, I will either get the talker or I will get the phone reader or I will get the seat kicker. And I'm a little soured on movie theaters. This might sound elitist, but I only do the VIP. Give me a
I love the VIP.
and do that kind of stuff anymore because I want to sit there and I want to get lost in the theater. So Graham, I'm with you, Gray. The sitting at home watching a movie and not having anybody bug you, so you can get absorbed into the movie with a nice big TV. Man, that's a great way of doing it. But so that or VIP. But I do like the movie theater experience. There is something celebratory about it. Even just going back now, it will be extra celebratory, but it's really something that is kind of there's a weird community feeling about it. You're all there experiencing the same thing together, which is I think why they're going to probably become really popular, because people want that sense of community again, and it'll probably happen pretty quick. And then there'll all be super spreader events, and they'll shut them all down again.
Exactly.
Honestly, like offering a little bit of choice to your audience is good as well. Because here's the thing, I paid $30 for Godzilla versus King Kong, and I felt good about it. So I'm fine with that. Now here's the thing, the very next day I paid for it again because I wanted a friend to come over and watch it. So fair. Would I go to a movie theater with friends and also pay for it? Yeah, I probably would. So some choice.
I thought I was bad with money.
Hi there,
the theater.
Making you look good since 1980. What up?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things at home. You don't really get the opportunity to experience what's known as collective effervescence. When there are moments in movies where people are just like lose their minds. Case in point, Avengers: Age of Ultron and The Hammer. Yeah, which only one other person than Thor was able to pick up. Oh, yeah. And people in the theater, like I've got literally goosebumps right now. This is stupid. Literally.
It's a little stupid.
Everyone simultaneously in the theaters went, "What?" And this was the capstone to our 25-hour experience watching the Avengers marathon. So that was 11 movies. It was so full of pizza. Will and Graham and my wife and I. So that was pretty cool. And the thing is, Jamie, you mentioned seat kickers and talkers and people on their phones and whatnot. Well, public service announcement. If you see someone on their phone in the theater, yell at them. That's what I do, and it works.
I was there. You did that once in the theater when I was watching a movie with you, and you yelled at them and you said, "Get off Twitter, kid!"
So you bring shame to your family.
Exactly. But the thing is, when we're watching at home, it's so easy and tempting for us to get out our own devices, and then we're not actually paying proper attention to the movie, and we could miss out on the nuances of Wonder Woman 1984.
I would say that's more of a willpower issue than anything else, Tristan. I can put my phone down for an hour and a half.
Well, sometimes it's the people next to you, and you don't, there's only
then you get a divorce.
So much yelling. Yeah, there's only so much yelling you can get away with in a marital arrangement. So, a counterpoint or counterexample to this is Black Widow, which is coming out in the theaters. I believe it's July 9th. Will also be released on Disney Plus through Premier Access. So if you have a Disney Plus subscription, you get the privilege of paying on top of that, but you will be able to watch Black Widow in the home. So Jamie, I know that you feel like you're a little burned out on superhero movies, but
I am.
I put it to the rest of you. Which of you is like, if you're going to see this, are you going to see this at home on Disney Plus? Because I think we probably all subscribe to it. Or are you going to see this in the theater? Starting with Jamie.
Oh, with me? Well, first of all, Black Widow does not have superpowers, so she's not a superhero. Yeah, she's a comic book character, though. I agree. I quite like Black Widow. I think it's great. Yeah, there was the same situation with Mulan. I think was one that. And it was really not a good movie. The live action Mulan was not that great. So it's kind of one of those, is it worth it? And it's almost hard to get reviews of stuff now. So you don't really know if you should see a movie. You just pay it, and that's what it is. And it's a captive audience. It was a captive audience.
Early reviews for Black Widow have been promising so far.
Are they? Yeah. Well, I think it's probably going to be a good movie. It looks
spy thriller.
Looks kind of fun, but there's just so much more content available now that you can sit down and watch, that it becomes less important to have to pay for this one thing to watch it right now. A prime example would be Wonder Woman 84. Bad movie. That was really a bad movie. I know, Tristan, you have slightly different opinion. Probably two less bad.
Don't care, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't find it entertaining, and I really would have probably soured me really quite a bit on paying for streaming on top of already having something else if I did that. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna be a big paying extra streaming fees. Movie. Oh, it was really bad. It was so bad.
You like this as well? So I enjoyed it.
I didn't mind it. Like, I don't have the extreme hate on that Jamie has for it, but then again, I watched it on a reasonable sized screen and not my laptop.
Oh, it was story. Story was the problem.
It's a 1980s movie. That's the thing. It's like if you look at it,
it was a very 80s movie. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It was a little the first act I found. Yeah, I found the first act a little intolerable.
Who never lived through it.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I found the first act a little
boring. There was no RoboCop. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, this is so 80s. This is so 80s. This is so 80s. It was kind of like, I hate to say it, but kind of like the writing style of Ernest Cline a little bit.
Yes, I just finished Ready Player 2.
Yeah,
and
not quite as good as the first one. Is it?
Pandering. It was pandering. The book was pandering. Wonder Woman 84 was pandering as well. So again, we're getting off track here, but
So you're going to see Black Widow in the theater then, Jamie? If you don't,
I probably would. I would like to actually. I'd like to go see it in the theater. I'll see it with you, Tristan, as long as you give me the armrest. That's the key.
We live in a society.
I'll give you my arm as well.
No, none of that this time.
How about you, Graham?
I'm going to watch it at home. I've got an Atmos theater here. I've got a 75-inch screen. The floors are generally not sticky. It depends on how the cats turn up.
Depending on the night of the week.
I like how you qualified that. Thank you, Gray.
Well, yeah. $1,600 vet bill last week. I got to bring it up somewhere. It's just I really enjoy my space, and to your point, like this one feels like it's filling in a blank for me in the Marvel universe. Much like I really enjoyed WandaVision, much like I really enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier, much like I'm really enjoying Loki right now. You can put the filler pieces into my living room, and I will enjoy them here. Your next, beginning game, cool. I'll go see it in the theater. Yeah. But I don't know that this is it. There may be, and here's the thing, I don't tend to do the opening night anymore. So there may be a review that comes out that says, you know what, this is actually going to change your life. Sure, maybe I'll go see it. But I don't think this is that film. I think this is the film where we're going to sit at home, like get some Nooch popcorn going, and it's going to be a great night at home. And I'm willing to pay for that with a theater that I control. I'm digging that. Also, pause, being able to go to the bathroom, and also talking to Siri and saying,
"Hold it."
What did she just say? That's kind of the killer feature for me.
That is a great feature.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hold it.
You're doing damage to your kidneys, and you know it.
Well, I think to Gray's point, these are great. That these are sort of character world building type of movies and shows, and it's really great that we're adding more depth to the Marvel universe. I'm a huge MCU fan. I know it's not for everyone. I love these things. For me, I'm not sure this is much of a theater movie as something like Fast 9, but I still want to see it in a theater because I'll be double vaxxed. This is going to be the movie I want to go to. I really want to go to a movie theater, and it's just an excuse to go. It's a movie that I've really been wanting. This was supposed to come out March last year, so I'm just all in. And this is, I'm definitely going to see this in the theater, and I'm super excited. I don't even think I should be so excited for this movie. I mean, I'm interested in it, but I'm like psyched. Like this is Star Wars psyched. I'm so into this.
Star Wars psyched? Hold on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just
Hold
happy
on
to go
now.
and see people and go to this place, which I wasn't sure was ever going to open again. So I mean, I think I'm just psyched.
Good for you.
The
They're going to grant him the rank of Task Knight, but not Taskmaster, I think is the.
And just so we're clear, where in the timeline does this actually occur?
It's right after Hopper gets sent to Russia. We're crossing the street.
You're going on a tangent, man. You gotta rein it back in real quick.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. The Natasha Romanoff that you see die is not actually Natasha Romanoff. It's her sister. There's a face swap that happens in this movie. This is actually the thing. She's still alive.
Shut this whole thing down right now.
Simple question.
This is going somewhere else.
I have at least 2 Marvel nerds here. That's a simple question. Where in the timeline does this happen?
I am not one of the Marvel nerds.
I have to be honest with you. When I'm super in on something, I don't do a lot of reading. I want to see it and experience it when it happens.
She's a Black Widow variant. Come on.
Yeah. So I don't want to kind of be spoiled. Sometimes I'll watch one trailer. Like for Loki, I watch one trailer and then I'm not watching the second Shang-Chi trailer. I'm just watch the one and then I'll wait for the movie. You sold me a ticket already. I was kind of a bit curious, but now I don't want to see the funniest lines in the movie, the biggest stunt, and the conclusion that I can figure out.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Vin Diesel in the remake of 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
I just realized that.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
I live for this shit.
We're not leaving this room. Yeah.
Ride or die, everyone.
Okay, so, I think we've spent ourselves here at this point.
Speaking of gorgeous, deadly assassins, our very own Tasia Custodi has a new video this week. 5 Chrome browser extensions to save time. So if you are a Chrome user or the user of a browser that's compatible with Chrome based on the Chromium project, including browsers like Brave or Microsoft Edge, tune in to Tasia's video at youtube.com/Tasia Custodi or in our show notes to see her latest offering and give her a like and a subscribe and a share and all that kind of good stuff. Quick poll: any must-have Chrome extensions or other browser extensions that any of you guys use?
TinEye. Actually, I like TinEye quite a bit.
Reverse image.
Yeah. Something I just learned. Well, Chrome extensions. Yeah, I just learned you can type if you use Google Calendar, you type cal.new in your browser thing, and it'll just give you a new appointment ready in your browser. And
no
also
Sheets.
Necessary. Yeah, Sheets.new, same thing.
Nice.
New sheet right away. It's kind of handy.
So no extension necessary for those.
I don't believe so. No, but yeah, Chrome extensions. I don't use so many of them. No, just lots of tabs, lots of
I used
bookmarks.
to use a lot of web developer tools like color pickers and code and emulators and things like that. I don't use Chrome as much anymore. So, and some of that stuff has started to be built in more into actual browsers.
I'm all cryptocurrency on Chrome and Brave, so it's all MetaMask and Terra and whatnot. So gotcha. I'm using this in Restream right now. This is the only thing I use Chrome for. Can I tell you the weird thing? So I like my Intel 16-inch MacBook Pro died yesterday. Apparently it's ready for pickup. They put a brand new logic board in it, $1,000. But I bought an M1 to use. It's not hot. The fans are not screaming. I don't know what they've done to make this not be a beast, but it's not. It doesn't sound like it's in pain. Whereas my previous MacBook sounded like it was in pain. So there's something about the M1 that Chrome actually works for. So
can't wait.
Good stuff. A couple of Chrome extensions I've used over the years included Fake Spot to help you identify misattributed or doctored photos. There's one called Camel, which was a Amazon price tracker. And I think my all-time favorite was one that when you click the button, Shia LaBeouf would saunter on your screen and do his motivational speech for you. Mm-hmm. Do it now. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Then it turned out that little extension got co-opted and turned into malware. So I since removed that from my Chrome browser. But yeah, check out Tasia's video. And very last project this week, Will, you've got something for us, a new installment on Table Beats.
Yeah, I did another looper called Goldtooth, some old school sort of funk and electro and fun stuff like that. So yeah, check it out. Love making beats, and some people seem to like them, so that's great.
So in order to enjoy your Gold Tooth beats, one needs to go and download the Table Beats app. I think we've gone through this before a little bit, and then go and search the library for your username there, which is Molotov, or you can even try searching for Gold Tooth. Now, I have to ask, why Gold Tooth? Where does that come from?
I just was trying to think of something cool, and it just added into kind of the vibe of the sort of funk and the sort of very dirty raw beats, and it just seemed to fit. I mean, you just have to come out with these kind of names, and it's just fun.
Sorry, can you just say dirty raw beats again?
No.
Okay.
But you did. No, but it's music, right? So that's just the way.
Actually, that's the name of my new band, Dirty Raw Beats.
We've got some in our garden, I think. Anyhow, this has been wonderful. Of course, we've gone long because time flies when you're having fun.
Tristan.
Thank you. Thank you. I was about to thank our esteemed repeat guest, Jamie Reynolds, but I now rescind that thanks. We'll have you on for a three-peat sometime soon. Thank you, Jamie. And, of course, Gray Williams, William Silver. You can learn more about Momentous at momentous.tv, facebook.com/momentous.tv, twitter.com/momentous.tv, instagram.com/momentous.tv. Good luck finding us on YouTube, but Tasia is at youtube.com/Tasia Custody. And, you can Google YouTube my name, search it in YouTube, and maybe you'll find Momentous that way. We'll get there eventually. Thanks. We will see you next week.